All right, there's a great book, and it's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's a great book. I have the information in the slides. It's worth reading. It's a storybook, like a lot of the books as you walk through. And it's about an organization they're in sales and they're having a lot of difficulty. They're like a small computer company, I believe, and they're not doing well. And so there's this woman, they hire her, and she really is more of a, I think she more deal with sports, and she kind of help pull teams together. And they hire her to take a look and be the head of this organization. So it's a great book because it tells a story and walks through and the different personalities of different people. We're going to look at the 5 dysfunctions and going to apply them. This works more about your day-to-day team, not like we talked about where we're pulling people together and all the difficulties, but the difficulties apply. But this is going to walk us through. This could be you as a shift commander. This could be you as the lieutenant and the sergeants. This could be you as the chief and those report to you. This could be you in community policing where you have people in the community working together. And this talks about how do you develop a healthy, I'm going to call it, team where people are willing to be part of it. So we're going to look at the model, and I'll give you each of the pieces, and we'll take a look at them as we walk through. The first one is the absence of trust. These are the dysfunctions, the negative side. The absence of trust, low trust organizations, and I call it organizations beyond team. I have seen, again, so many times I'm brought in, and I look around the room, and if management's in the room, nobody talks. I was teaching an ethics class, and the first thing I said, with all due respect, I need upper management to leave the room. And they said, what do you mean? I said, they're not going to speak when you're in this room. I mean, bring me in here to talk about ethical dilemmas and ethical issues, within the organization, then I need you to leave. And if they don't leave, we have a very poor program. So, but you can feel it. And then you have other agencies, you can feel the trust. All right, so we're going to look at absence of trust. The next one, without trust, it's the fear of conflict. Conflict's a good thing I'm going to talk about, not a negative thing. We'll talk about the difference. Then we're going to look at the next one, the lack of commitment. People aren't willing to commit. They aren't willing to put, as we talked about, their soul into it, or at least their heart into it. And then we're going to look at accountability. Accountability is huge. People fail many times by accepting accountability. Remember, it's not a hammer. It's not a hammer. It's about achieving things, and I have responsibility. And the last one is, inattention to results. It's all about process and not what we accomplish or what we're trying to achieve. So I go out and do my thing every day. So what if nothing gets solved? I go out and do my thing. I did a good job. So we look at a team. It's all of us. So we're going to look at each of them. Now I want you to think about, I know of a pyramid, think about a house. Trust is the foundation. Without a good solid base, built on rock, not built on sand, a good base for this house, will it stand? And the answer is no. And each of these are going to build. They're not standing individual. These build on each other as we walk through this. All right, dysfunction number 1, absence of trust. Teams must trust one another. Trust means, again, I can make a mistake, and I don't watch my back. I will make a mistake. When I run a cold case homicide unit, and I'd say, okay, we're going to brainstorm what are the possibilities. And I had this happen, somebody came up with an idea and they made fun of him and they picked on him, the whole group shut down, and that guy never said another word. And what was fascinating, at the end of the case when we solved it, what he thought, which was totally different than where we thought we were going, turned out to be very close to what the answer was. Trust. Being comfortable to be vulnerable. I'm going to say something, and everybody says, that was ridiculous. There is no such thing. People must be open. First step running a cold case homicide, as I go through, as I'm building it towards a task force, is to bring everybody to brainstorm. And all through the case to brainstorm. And I don't care, it may seem ridiculous. And what's fascinating, a lot of times I have people with tons of experience, good experience, solid experience, and I have people with no experience who will come up with the dumbest things you've ever heard. And you know what's fascinating? Some of the dumb things is the right thing because they don't know any better. But if they're not feel comfortable in saying it, I will lose that idea that I may never have thought of because I'm so ingrained what the right path is. Trust. Commitment, complete openness, no filter. I can say it. I don't have to watch my back. And watch my back means that when I leave the room, you're not out telling everybody how dumb I am or what I do wrong. You know, what we do here, understand, if people are open without filters, they can say what the issues. Now, it can be, as we're talking in the organization, there's things that aren't right that we've dealt with again and again and again, and people aren't going to talk about it because when they do, they're going to get the way they're going to be treated. People have a right. Now, long as it's not personal attacks, people have a right. And you should encourage people to be open as we look at how to solve things or how to build our team. All right, leadership is the key here. Trust through positioning. Trust is leadership becomes very important, that we encourage and we help people. We make sure it's an open, honest place we can work and feel comfortable. Position, action, leading people. We talk about the vision, that we have a vision, that we know what we want to accomplish. It becomes the key as we look at these leadership strategies. Staying on course and following the vision. That we all have an idea, we all feel part of it, and it helps build as we talk to leadership. Now, trust goes far beyond the day-to-day issues. It's honor the long-term commitment. It's a solid basis we talk about as we move through. Trust is our foundation. All right, how do we develop trust? I use the word rapport. Trust is a day-to-day building. It's how we treat. I don't talk behind your back. Now, if you violate trust, it's hard to get it back. And trust, it's funny, trust is really easy to identify the lack of, but many times it's really hard to say what it is. But think about it as in a relationship, as we build within the team and as individuals, especially as a leader. All right, so let's look at trust. Some of the tools needed going from a non-person to a person are the normal tools in any relationship. You treat people as people. You're not a supervisor treating people as subordinates. You're part of a team, and everybody has value. The same thing. They listen to them, we communicate with them, we care what they say, right or wrong. In fact, sometimes we think right or wrong. They may have the right answer. But it's respect becomes the key as we're going to build people into a relationship where they have high trust. And here's some of the things: showing respect, listening to people. And I mean active listening to them, not ignoring what they say or just nodding. Having and showing interest about them. Taking all the time they need, being interested in what's important to them. Personalizing your relationship. The more in a team people feel like they're individuals with value, the greater their input. Okay, being good is important, being trust is essential. Trust is the key, trust is the foundation. All right, trust, these are some sayings. It's a lubricant that keeps things moving ahead. It's what's important in the organization. Like leadership, as I said, it's easy to identify the lack of, but hard to truly say what it is. And trust. And people know when there's low trust. All right, Covey talks about something called emotional bank account, which I think fits very well. Day-to-day activity, what you do is a deposit in that bank account every day. It doesn't take much to withdraw and empty the account. When you build trust in an organization, you can make mistakes, things can happen, and you will survive. Agencies and teams with low trust, when something happens, everything falls apart. Your day-to-day activity, the predictability, the building, the respect, will compensate for the times that aren't so good. Trust becomes key in any team. So trust, the ability to show weaknesses and take risk without watching your back. This is really our first step as we look at the dysfunction, the lack of it. Dysfunction 2. Now remember, without the trust, we can't deal with conflict because people aren't going to be open and honest about it. How many times in a meeting, again and again, we talk about the same issues and nothing's ever resolved? Why? Because people can't say what really is going on or how they feel or what they think. So let's look at it. The dysfunction is the fear of conflict. Teams that trust are not afraid of conflict. Now, I say conflict, a lot of times you'll see in an organization people are trying to avoid conflict. A healthy organization needs open conflict. It can't be personal. It's got to be about issues, and it's got to be done with respect. And this becomes, at the beginning, the real role of the leader is to make sure they facilitate these. No, you're not bullying. But our goal is to openly let people talk about conflict and what we need to do. All right, willingness to engage in passionate dialogue. Willing to disagree, challenge, question others. I disagree with that. I don't think it's a good idea because of. And then you draw it out, and then you can get to the core of why there's conflict. A lot of times conflict, because it's more of a communication issue, or it's a vision, or everybody knows the answer, but nobody has the courage because the last person said they disagree with the leader or with the people of power, got eaten alive, and the consequences were huge. So without trust, people won't engage in conflict to solve problems. This gives us the power. Conflict. So why is conflict an important issue for a team success? Because without it, we really can't deal with the critical issues that really is tied to our failures. So take a look at the difficulties of conflict. People don't like conflict unless they understand it's not personal. When people pay a price for conflict, everybody shuts down. I was teaching a class, co-teaching with a person, where somebody disagreed with the instructor, and the instructor, who was very, very good on the subject, ate them alive, and the whole, look at everybody in that room. They crossed their hands, they crossed their arms, and nobody, for the rest of that class, really were involved in heavy, good dialogue. That is the danger. Conflict is a good thing. It brings discussions, it gives greater understanding. So we have to, but it's not personal, it's not about you, it's about the things we talk about separate. It's motivation. Are members motivated in the team to, the same reason? Different individuals are motivated differently, so we try to bring people and get them involved. And the leader has a huge goal in accomplishing this, and conflict is good. Not destructive conflict, positive conflict dealing with real issues. All right, addressing conflict. Conflict is a positive thing. It resolves issues. The rules, and it's not personal. It's clear. It deals with issues. It's not a win-win. It's not a winning, you lose, but it's about things we need to achieve. It's about, achieving our goals. It's and even how you frame it. It's not where I demean you because you disagree. I encourage you, and then I demand that you explain. There's no such thing, I disagree. Why do you disagree? How do you disagree? This becomes the keys of conflicts. Failing to have conflict leads to groupthink, where people just basically go along or believe the path we're going. And this becomes, in that article, this is the killer. When everybody starts saying, take John Benet Ramsey, for those who might in Colorado. If you walked in there in reality in the beginning and you said, I disagree, you wouldn't be back tomorrow probably, or you'd be shut down to a point that you'd never disagree again, when we all know the answer. And you can be right, but good. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about the guy that tries the devil's advocate that cuts everything down. No, that's a negative. But the person that questions what we're doing and how we're doing it will make us better on what we do. Conflict. Understanding. You must be able to have a clear, articulated conflict. What is the issue we're addressing? This is a great saying. Rules of a meeting. In a meeting, first the rule is no disrespect. Verbally, non-verbally, voice intonation, tone, no. Now, if I disagree with you, you say something, and I disagree, I have to clearly state back to you, what is it you said that I disagree with, to the point that you say, yes, that's what I said and that's what I mean. Many times, unhealthy conflicts are no more than misunderstanding, and these can articulate, and grow into to be long-term conflicts that was no more than a misunderstanding. So when you have disagreements, you need to have, the rules are, you need to in detail explain, not just, I think that's a bad idea. How is what I said not a good idea, and how is it you see it, and why? There's no such thing as just a flat statement. All right, because many conflicts are more a disagreement and a misunderstanding. conflict. And words, how do we use words? There's words that are rude and disrespectful that incite. So even the words you have to think about. And that becomes in the beginning a really big problem for your facilitator or leader as we build a team willing to communicate. Now remember, first is trust. We have trust. Without trust, we don't have conflict. Without conflict, we don't have commitment, where we start seeing the vision where we're going to go when we belong. Lack of commitment. Teams that are not willing to engage in conflict, and buy-in, particularly, aren't building and participating, through, say, not always agreement, but their ideas and opinions are heard. So without trust, we don't have conflict. Without conflict, we aren't willing to communicate and commit in and buy in. We don't have a say. Participatory management. I have no say, I have no commitment. So the more say I have, the more involvement, the greater my commitment in the success and what we're trying to accomplish. Teams. I don't mean a vote. I don't mean total commitment, but I am in part of it. I have a voice, and I respect my voice. And from that, we will develop commitment to the goals of the team. Clear, articulated, understanding, where we're going, a chance for everybody to be heard, everybody have a real voice. Again, it's not a democracy, but it's involved in part of the success and even the failure, accountability, or the lack of it, which takes us to 4. Now remember, what we have is trust. Without trust, we don't have conflict. Without conflict, people don't have a chance to be heard and participate and build commitment into the success of the team. With that, accountability. And accountability is a key. It is very key, and it's been through many of the talks we've had. Avoidance of accountability, not my fault. You watch people. There's people that literally, every email they keep, they document why when everything fails, it's not their fault, rather than helping together to achieve the goals. They're very unhealthy in the organization. Teams that commit don't hesitate to hold everybody accountable, adhering to the decisions and the standard. Now that doesn't mean you're jumping on them. That means this part isn't getting done. We're going to make sure it gets done. We're going to work together. And if somebody isn't doing it, and they should, they're not going to just get away with it, because their success or failure as a team is my success and failure. They need help, we get them help. We all work together. It's not my fault. I did everything I wanted. You didn't get done what we said. If it isn't getting done, we all fail or we win together. And that becomes accountability and key. Teams, peer accountability, not just the leader. All of us are involved. Now remember, we first start off trust. Trust builds, the ability to have conflict and good, healthy discussions. And then from that, we get commitment to participatory management and people involved. And then we have accountability where all of us work together to achieve it. And when we have all of these tools, we go and we can have results beyond any results we would have before. And attention to results. Teams that trust one another engage in conflict, commitment to this, to decisions, hold other people, hold all of you and themselves included accountable, are more likely to achieve the team results. Team results, not your individual, not you as a superstar, not even the leader, but all of you together, the results that you're trying to accomplish. Team results. Talked about accountability. Accountability leads towards the results. Now, what we're talking about here, time to time, people drop below the line. As a group, to achieve the results of the team, be clearly architected that what we're trying to accomplish. Somebody drops below the line, we as a team help build them up. We know things happen. So how do we do it? We model accountability. We hold everybody accountable. Not you, who are my friend, treated different than this other person. We're fair. Example as a team leader, example to other. Everybody held accountable. Everybody, and we will achieve towards understanding and results. So in other words, I know, like I said, the victim stories, people from time to time have problems. We need to be open. We need to realize it. We need to help them through the tough times, as something happens in their life, as we move towards all of us achieving. So as we look towards how to be accountable, how to coach, how to work with, all of these are the tools for success. So teams, bottom line is, teams give you the power and the ability to go places you could never go alone. For there is more to a team than ever would be the one. Many of you, I started off and said, have worked in very, very good groups with a great leader, and everybody did their task and you were very successful. Teams go far beyond that. Teams reach a point that they're literally can accomplish so much more than a group or an individual ever can. Now, the first part we talked about in the other lecture was looking at the pieces to success. This is about the actual team itself. Have a good day.